Hey guys, we're the characters from the TV show Schoolhouse Rock.
20 years ago, we taught kids basic grammar and math with music, but those kids grew into illiterate adults.
So we're back with new songs, since nobody seems to remember the that we tried to teach 20 years ago. Remember me? I sang Conjunction Junction. Let's talk about one way your grammar doesn't function. Apostrophes are really fun. They mean something is owned by him or her. Like Michael's marker or Stephanie's pretty dress.
Remember that? It's really easy.
So when you're a waitress at a local diner and you write lunch specials with an apostrophe, take 5 seconds to remember basic grammar, you moronic piece of
Remember me? I taught you about numbers in the song My Hero Zero. Yet basic math escapes you. Plus, minus, times, divide, just have one shred of pride.
I'm a 6-year-old with Down syndrome, and I understand.
So when you're struggling to split a check and your solution is to go high-tech,
take 5 seconds to remember basic math, you moronic piece of Errors like this are so commonplace. It's probably the downfall of the human race. So take 5 seconds to remember basic lessons, you moronic piece of because they're really simple.
you have got to be f***ing kidding me.
I hope you like that, Big P. That's your high score of the week song. Since you're one of the people that I have trouble getting a hold of, I picked that one out for you. Thought maybe you'd like that. And even if you don't, I know the rest of our league is going to find that pretty fucking funny. Hopefully YouTube won't make me admit to using third-party content again, but we'll have to wait and see. Sorry if I'm a little froggy, fellas. On a personal note, before I get started, I left most of my vocal cords and probably a piece of my lungs on Lincoln Financial Field when I went to see the Eagles trounce the Panthers on Monday. That was fucking awesome. But anyhow, by now you already know, but I'm going to tell you anyways because I'm nothing if not repetitive. You have entered Chad's 2 cents, week 11. Gentlemen, the cream of the crop is about to rise to the top. And if you don't know what I mean by that, check it. We got 3 weeks left. And this week, everybody who has a record that's 500 or better is playing somebody else who has a record of 500 or better. Likewise, everybody whose record is under 500 is playing somebody else whose record is under 500. So that means by the time this week is over and we only have 2 left after that, that the guys who already are under 500 that lose this week, they're getting pushed down into that basement and they're going to have a lot of work to do to recover. Alright, well let's start with the Week 10 review. Kick things into gear. My mom's internet sucks. And if you can't tell, so does the lighting. I can't win lately with these videos as far as the lighting is concerned. So go ahead and make fun of me for my lack of good lighting, like we all make fun of Pat for his lack of the ability to speak English. Alright. First game, Bobby and Brett, the guys who were battling for the top. Brett came out ahead. I can't really say I'm shocked because, let's face it, until the Monday night game happened, Bobby basically was already dead in the water. I mean, that sucks though, man. When you get 41 points from a defense and lose, that's harsh. That's harsh. But, you know, you're still 6-4 and you probably don't have to worry about the playoffs at this point, but, I mean, you could lose out, and that would make things rather interesting, because that probably means that somebody else is climbing up. Next, Mundy and Baker. Mundy's ridiculous run continues. I can't believe he's 0-5 to start the season and now is 5-5. It's ridiculous. Like, when is this run going to end for him? And Baker, look, man, I keep saying it and saying it and saying it. I don't believe in your team. I don't. I'm sorry. I think you're right where you belong right about now as one of the guys who has a chance to miss the playoffs. Next, there's the matchup between myself and Cupcake. I'll always take a win, but I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a little part of me that felt a little bit guilty snagging this one from Cupcake, because yes, I scored 172, but let's see, 86 of those points came from Aaron Rodgers on Sunday night and then Jordan Matthews on Monday night. I mean, before that, I don't know if you guys were watching the scores, but before that, it looked like Cupcake was going to beat me like a drum, after he got 36 points from Des Bryant and then another 29 from Jimmy Graham. I mean, that's just crazy. For the second time in 3 weeks, the Monday night game saved my ass. It almost happened 3 weeks in a row. Next up, the Philly Freaks and the Definitely Not Successful. I do like that name change, Jeff. I can't lie. I like that name change. That works. Look, I mean, I've already said it. Everybody wants to see Jeff get driven into the ground like a railroad spike so nobody has to worry about him in the playoffs. But, it's the crazy thing is that the more you look at his team, the more you think to yourself, man, he should not be this bad. And I mean, he did score 139 points. That would have been good enough to beat a couple people this week, even though the low scores of the week were 126. I mean, it's just, Jeff is just not lucky this year. And P, look, man, I know I'm making a lot of fun of you, a lot of fun at your expense about the grammar shit, but I didn't say nothing about your team being bad, okay? I believe in your team more than a lot of these guys do, and I put that on record back when Jeff did his power rankings and I stood up for your ass. All right. Oh, God, I feel so bad that I even have to talk about this game. McLean, listen, man, I feel bad as hell. I did something I never do. I fucking guaranteed a loss for Holtz in Week 10, and because of it, the football gods said, no, we're going to make sure Chad is wrong about this shit. Sure enough, you got beat by Holtz. I can't believe it, man. I mean, with the guys he was missing from bye weeks, the fact that he posted 161 on your ass, I mean, and you posted 145, which is more than respectable. It's just, you're right in that boat with Jeff, where it's just all bad luck right now. Not a bad team, just bad luck. On a different note, though, trading Tony Romo away from Martavius Bryant when you're already holding Roddy White and both Detroit wide receivers. Look, I'm not going to say it's a bad trade, and yes, Jeff can't use Tony against you this week. So I get that, but I really don't understand why you were even looking for another wide receiver. It puzzles me, Not an unfair trade, just a puzzling one. Before you get all touchy about me getting on you for your trade tactics, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying I don't get it. All right, moving on to Week 11. Here's one of our battles for the basement. Cupcake against Baker. Look, Cupcake, yes, he lost to me this week, but he still posted a good score, and all of a sudden he's one of the highest scoring teams in the league. I think he's top 3 right behind myself and Pat. I mean, And knowing that you all already know my opinion of Baker's team, I just don't see any way that Baker gets this one. If he does, then he's right back in it, and all of a sudden, Cupcake might have one of the best teams to not make the playoffs that I've ever seen. But I'm not guaranteeing a loss or a win for anybody, because I just said I'm not going to do that shit again. All right. Next, Big P and Bobby in one of the matchups that kind of determines who is near the top. I believe in Bobby's team more than some, but the fact of the matter remains that the reason I continue to believe that him and Brett sit atop of everybody else has less to do with how good their teams are and more to do with the fact that they keep playing against people who are having not great weeks. And if you look at the points that they've had scored against them, it bears that out in the standings. If P wins this week, he's 6-5, and he'll make Bobby 6-5, and is sitting pretty good. And look, all you guys who are sitting at the bottom, you should be rooting for P, because the closer everything stays together, the better chance you have to make it in the last couple of weeks. All right. Holtz and Mundy. Every time I think I know what's going on with Holtz's team, I really don't, which, that's not saying much considering the way this entire year has gone. But Mundy might be the biggest fantasy football mystery I've ever seen. To go from 0-5 to 5-5. This one, I considered it being my matchup of the week, but I just couldn't do it, and you'll see why in a second. I do think it's going to be a hell of a game, though. I look forward to seeing who snags this one. I think it's probably Holtz. I think Mundy's hot streak has to come to an end sometime, but who the fuck knows? That's I shouldn't even call this Chad's 2 cents anymore. I should just call this who the fuck knows. That's what this year has been like. All right, next, myself and Brett in the weekly battle for the King of the Mountain spot. Again, anybody sitting at the bottom, you're rooting for my ass, because if I beat Brett, then nobody in the league has any more than 7 wins, and that means that the guys at the bottom still have a fighting chance in this bitch. Now for my matchup of the week. Were you guys paying attention as I went through the matchups? You know what the matchup of the week is already? You do? Well, I'm going to tell you any fucking way. It's Calvin and the Watt Monks versus Definitely Not Successful. Again, Justin, apologize for picking Holtz as a sure loser. But maybe making you matchup of the week will help make up for it, and you'll see why in a second. Look, again, I don't really understand the trade that just took place between these two. I guess Jeff thinks that maybe Tony Romo can help save him in the last couple of weeks. But that's not going to matter if he doesn't win this week. Because let's face it, if he gets loss number 8 before he gets victory number 4, he's fucked. So, I don't even really have any matchups to highlight between the players for this game. I'm just highlighting this game because it is the absolute battle for the bottom right now. That's important. That's important. Can you imagine the team that currently owns Jamal Charles and A.J. Green doesn't make the playoffs? The team that currently owns Calvin Johnson doesn't make the playoffs. Can you believe that shit? Either way, I barely can. In any event, Justin, I'm going to try and give you the old reverse jinx. I'm going to pick Jeff to win this one and keep his hopes alive in Shit Talk Central 2014. That's week 11. Peace, bitches.